There comes a moment in life when you can no longer postpone the change you know you need. You've waited, you've delayed, you've told yourself one day, but one day is not on the calendar. The truth is nothing changes until you decide. Nothing shifts until you step up and say enough is enough. I'm fixing this now. Many people live in patterns of frustration, carrying pain, repeating mistakes, holding on to excuses, and what happens is opportunities are lost, relationships fade, dreams get buried. But you are not here to rise, you are here to take control. The first step to transforming your life is to stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a myth. The only moment you have is right now. Fix it now means refusing to tolerate what no longer serves you. Fix it now means changing your standards, shifting your habits, and taking action even if it's uncomfortable. Because change doesn't come from convenience, it comes from courage. Every breakthrough you've ever dreamed of is on the other side of a decision, the decision to act today, not tomorrow. Ask yourself, what in your life needs fixing? Is it your mindset, your business, your relationships, whatever it is? Don't just talk about it. Commit, take massive action, move with urgency, because when you change now, your future transforms. When you fix it now, you break the cycle and step a life of freedom, power, and fulfillment. Stop waiting. Stop settling. Stop sleeping through your own life. The time is not later. The time is not someday. Fix it now and watch everything change. Every transformation begins at the moment of decision. A single decision has the power to completely redirect the course of your life, yet most people underestimate it. We often think change requires years of effort, endless resources, or perfect timing, but in reality, the turning point comes when you draw a line in the sand and say, no more, I will not live this way any longer. That's the power of decision. It's not about wishing, hoping, or waiting. It's about a deep commitment, a choice made with absolute certainty that there is no going back. Think about the times in history or even in your own life when everything shifted. It wasn't when you talked about change or thought about it. It was when you made a real decision. Decisions are different from preferences. A preference says, I'd like to lose weight, I'd like to start a business, to have better relationships. But a decision says, I must, I will, nothing's gonna stop me. That energy creates an entirely new path because once your brain and heart are aligned with a firm decision, your behavior begins to follow. The reason decisions are so powerful is that they cut off every other possibility. In fact, it comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off. When you decide, you are eliminating other options. You're no longer entertaining excuses, no longer juggling between should I or shouldn't I. You're committed. That commitment gives you clarity, and clarity is power. Most people remain stuck because they live in a state of hesitation, half decisions, and uncertainty. But the moment you decide, hesitation disappears and energy returns. Decisions shape destiny more than conditions or circumstances. Two people can face the exact same situation, financial struggles, broken relationships, and yet one transforms their life while the other stays stuck. The difference isn't luck or resources, it's the decision to act differently. Every great success story you've ever heard began with someone deciding they were no longer willing to settle. They decided to take charge no matter the cost. When you make a true decision, doesn't mean the road will be easy. It means you've committed to keep going even when it gets hard. Decision itself creates an internal standard that forces you to rise. Your mind starts searching for solutions, your energy shifts, and opportunities that were invisible before suddenly become clear. It's not because they magically appeared, it's because your decision tuned your focus to see them. This is why indecision is one of the most dangerous habits. It kills momentum and keeps people trapped in the same cycles year after year. But once you make a firm decision, even before you know all the steps, life begins to bend to your commitment. That's how powerful the human spirit is when it decides with absolute certainty. A single decision made with conviction has the ability to fix what you've been struggling with for years. And it starts the moment you decide to fix it now. Waiting for the perfect moment is one of the greatest illusions that keeps people trapped. Ourselves. I'll start when I feel ready, when I have more money, when the timing is right, when circumstances are easier. But that perfect moment never comes because life is never going to line up exactly the way you want it. There will always be challenges, distractions, and reasons to delay. Those who keep waiting live in a cycle of postponement, watching opportunities slip by while convincing themselves they'll act someday. But someday is not a day of the week. The only real moment you ever have is now. Think about how many dreams have been buried under the weight of procrastination. How many people had a vision of burning desire, but they hesitated. Years pass and the dream begins to fade. Regret creeps in, and regret is far more painful than failure. Failure at least gives you lessons, growth, and another chance. Regret gives you nothing but the awareness that you didn't even try. When you wait for the perfect time, you're not protecting yourself. You're robbing yourself of progress, of a discovery of life itself. Every person who has achieved greatness did so not because conditions were perfect, but because they acted in spite of imperfection. They started when it was messy, when they didn't have all the answers, when fear was screaming at them to stop. They understood that action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't wait for confidence to appear before you act. You act, and confidence grows as a result. The perfect time doesn't exist, but the moment you choose to move, you create momentum. And momentum is what pulls you forward through uncertainty. There is a universal truth about life: opportunities expire. They don't wait around until you're comfortable. That relationship, that career move, that health decision, it has a window. When you delay, the window closes and what could have been life-changing passes by. That's why urgency is so critical. You understand that time is the most valuable resource you have. You stop wasting it waiting for conditions that will never arrive. You stop asking, is it the right time? And start asking, how can I make this the right time? The magic is that once you decide to act now, everything begins to shift. You start seeing possibilities instead of problems. You begin to attract the right people, the right resources, the right opportunities. Not because they weren't there before, because your decision tuned your mind to find them. Action opens doors that hesitation keeps closed. The perfect time is not something you wait for. It's something you create by moving forward boldly. The real question isn't whether the time is perfect. The question is whether you will make this moment count. Because this moment is all you've got. The past is gone. The future is not guaranteed. But right now you have the power to change everything. We'll never give you the life you want. Acting now will. That's why if something in your life needs fixing, you don't put it off until tomorrow. You fix it now. Your life will only rise to the level of the standards you set for yourself. Everything you tolerate, every habit you keep, every result you accept is a reflection of the standards you hold deep inside. Most people don't struggle because they lack potential. They struggle because their standards are too low. They allow themselves to live in comfort zones, to accept excuses, to settle for less than they're capable of. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who stay stuck is not talent. It's the refusal to settle. When you raise your standards, you draw a line in the sand and declare that from this moment forward, you will no longer live beneath your true potential. Standards are powerful because they shape every decision, every action. If your standard is to just get by, you will find ways to survive but never thrive. If your standard is excellence, you will demand more of yourself even when no one is watching. And the world responds to that energy. People, opportunities, and success are drawn to those who carry high standards because it's rare. It's magnetic and it creates momentum. The truth is, we don't get what we want in life. We get what we are willing to tolerate. Think about an area of your life that frustrates you. Maybe it's your health, your finances, or your relationships. If you're not happy with the results, it's because somewhere along the line, you lowered your standards. You said, this is acceptable. You let yourself settle for less than you deserve. But the instant you raise your standard and say, I will no longer accept this, change begins. You don't need to know the entire plan. You don't need to have every step figured out. You just need to demand more of yourself. And your mind will start finding ways to align with that new level. Raising your standards doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. It means you refuse to stay down. It means when you fall, you get back up faster. It means you train your mind, your body, your spirit to expect more out of life. The more you demand from yourself, the more you grow. Growth is addictive. Once you taste it, you'll never want to go back. This is why people who succeed in any field always talk about identity. When your standard becomes part of who you are, discipline stops being a struggle. If your identity person is, I'm a healthy person, you don't fight to eat clean. You simply do what aligns with who I am, a leader. You don't question whether to step up. You naturally take responsibility. Raising your standards means upgrading your identity. The moment you raise your standards, your life changes because your brain is wired to stay congruent with who you believe you are. If you decide that good enough is no longer good enough, you'll begin to act differently. You'll speak differently. You'll surround yourself with different people. You'll find yourself making choices that align with the higher level you've set. And that is how you transform your life, not by wishing, but by demanding more of yourself every single day. Excuses are the chains that keep people trapped in the same patterns year after year. They sound logical, they sound reasonable, but in truth, they are nothing more than lies we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't know enough. These are not facts, they are excuses. And the problem with excuses is that they become habits. Once you give yourself permission to excuse one thing, easier to excuse the next, and before long your entire life is shaped not by your potential but by your limitations. What makes excuses so dangerous is that they feel protective. They allow you to avoid discomfort, avoid risk, avoid failure. But what they really do is rob you of progress. The very thing you think is keeping you safe is actually keeping you stuck. Growth only happens outside the comfort zone, and excuses are the perfect trap to keep you inside it. The tragedy is that many people live their entire lives this way, mistaking safety for fulfillment. Realize too late that the years have slipped by and nothing has changed. If you want to fix your life now, you have to declare war on excuses. You must catch yourself in the act of giving reasons and challenge them immediately. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is it just a story I've repeated so often that I believe it? Because here's a successful person you admire had the same reasons to quit, the same fears, the same doubts. The difference is that they refused to accept those stories. They replaced excuses with responsibility, and responsibility gave them power. Once you destroy your excuses, you unlock freedom. Freedom to take action, to learn, freedom to fail and still move forward. Excuses tie you to the belief that you can't, while responsibility opens the door to the truth that you can if you're willing to commit. You'll notice that the moment you stop excusing yourself, your energy changes. Suddenly, instead of thinking about why you can't, you start thinking about how you can. Your brain is built to solve problems, but it can't do that if you constantly feed it reasons not to try. Breaking the cycle of excuses doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you'll finally step into the arena where growth happens. You'll face challenges. Also discover strength you didn't know you had. And every time you push through an excuse, you weaken its power over you. Start building a new identity, one of action, resilience, and ownership. That identity becomes the foundation of real change. The truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with excuses. Tear them down, and the path becomes clear. The minute you stop giving yourself permission to settle, you ignite a fire inside that nothing can extinguish. Excuses are results. You can't have both. If you truly want to change your life, the cycle ends today. You stop telling the old story and you start writing a new one. That is how you fix it now. Massive action is the fuel that takes a dream from imagination to reality. Too many people spend their lives waiting, planning, or talking about what they want to achieve, but they never step into consistent, bold action. They wait until everything is lined up perfectly, but life doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards movement. Momentum doesn't come from thinking, it doesn't come from wishing, it comes from doing. When you take massive action, even if it's messy, you create energy, and that energy starts pulling you forward. The truth is, small efforts scattered here and there will never create transformation. They might make you feel busy, but they won't make you effective. Real change requires intensity, focus, and consistent execution. It's about deciding that you're not going to dip your toe in the water. You're going to dive all the way in. When you commit at that level, you send a message to your brain, to the people around you, and even to life itself. I'm serious. I'm not here to play small. I'm all in. That energy is magnetic, and it creates opportunities that half-hearted effort never will. One of the most powerful things about massive action is that it builds momentum. Momentum is what carries you when motivation fades, because motivation will fade. There will be days when you don't feel like doing the work, when the excitement is gone, when obstacles seem bigger than your drive. If you've already built momentum through massive action, you keep moving because momentum makes it harder to quit than to continue. It's like pushing a heavy boulder. At first it's tough, it barely moves, but once it's rolling, it develops a force of its own. Taking massive action doesn't mean you'll get everything right. In fact, you'll make mistakes, sometimes big ones. But mistakes are not the enemy, inaction is. Mistakes give you feedback, they point you in a better direction, they sharpen your skills. Inaction gives you nothing but regret. Every successful person you've ever heard of has a trail of failures behind them, but they also have one thing in common: they acted. They kept moving forward, learning, and growing until they broke through. Massive action also builds belief. When you act boldly and consistently, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You begin to see evidence of progress, even if it's small at first, and that evidence fuels your confidence. Confidence isn't something you wait for before you act, it's something you earn through action. And the more action you take, the stronger your belief becomes that you can handle whatever comes your way. The difference between people who live their dreams and those who don't is not intelligence, luck, resources. It's the level of action they're willing to take. If you want to fix your life, you can't wait, you can't dabble, you can't take timid steps. You must step into massive action now. Push forward with everything you've got, and let that action create the momentum that carries you to your breakthrough. Because once momentum is on your side, nothing can stop you. Urgency is the secret ingredient that turns intention into transformation. Most people know what they need to do. They even have the strategies and the knowledge, but they wait for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right feeling. But the right time never comes. And what they don't realize is that waiting slowly kills their dreams. Urgency is about waking up to the truth that your life is happening right now, this very second. And the longer you delay, the further you drift from the future you want to create. When you operate with urgency, your focus sharpens. You stop getting lost in distractions because you know the cost of wasting time. Every hour wasted scrolling, worrying, or procrastinating is an hour stolen from your vision. Urgency makes you prioritize what truly matters instead of chasing what feels comfortable. It forces you to rise above excuses, because excuses lose their power when you feel the clock ticking. Urgency creates clarity, and clarity drives action. Think about the moments in life when you've achieved the most. Chances are there was urgency involved. Maybe it was a deadline you couldn't miss, a crisis you had to overcome, or a chance you knew wouldn't come again. Those moments pulled something greater out of you because urgency demanded your best. Imagine if you could live every day with that same level of intensity, not waiting for crisis or chance, but choosing to create urgency for yourself. That is where transformation begins. Urgency also builds commitment. When you decide something must change now, the bridge to procrastination, you stop giving yourself an escape route and you lock into the path of action. That commitment doesn't just change your mindset, it changes your physiology. You feel more alive, more present, more determined, because your brain knows there's no time to waste. You shift from someday thinking to action, and that shift is where breakthroughs are born. There's a power in urgency that ignites creativity and resourcefulness. When you know you must act now, you find ways you didn't see before. You discover strength, ideas, and courage that were hiding inside you. Waiting for the pressure of urgency to bring them out. Without urgency, those resources stay dormant, but when urgency hits, your true potential shows up. You've had moments where you surprised yourself, where you achieved more than you thought possible under pressure. That wasn't luck, that was urgency unlocking your power. The tragedy is that most people live like they have unlimited time. They live as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if opportunities will wait for them, as if life will pause until they're ready. But life doesn't wait, opportunities don't wait, your future doesn't wait. People who create extraordinary lives are the ones who live with urgency now. They don't just talk about fixing it, they act. They don't just dream about change, they demand it in the present moment. If you want real transformation, you must stop telling yourself, I'll do it later. Later is where dreams go to die, is where your potential stays buried. The power is in now. Urgency is what separates those who live fully from those who settle. Decide that today is the day, that this moment, and step into action with everything you've got. Because once you embrace urgency, transformation is no longer a possibility. It becomes your reality. You've heard the message, you felt the fire, and now it's your moment. Life doesn't change when you think about it. Life doesn't change when you act. When you make the decision to fix it now. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when the conditions are perfect. Now, because the truth is, you have is this moment right here. Take the pain you've carried, take the dreams you've buried, take the excuses you've repeated and burn them. Replace them with urgency, with action, with unshakable that says, I will no longer settle for less than I can be. I will no longer wait for change. I will create it. The power. You already have the strength. What's been missing is the decision to step forward and do it now. And when you take that step, the momentum will carry you. The fire inside you will grow, and everything in your life will begin to shift. Don't leave this moment the same person you came in to find. Commit, act, and step into the life you were born to live.